This audio message will be talking about love and lust, the effects of the two and their characteristics. Let's look at some statistical facts first. According to the National Center for Health, 100 years ago in 1923, 90% of families were created through marriage. From this percentage produced stabilized households, disciplined children, positive health outcomes, and longevity of life. In 1972, the statistics were correlated. So, for 51 years, the rate of individuals getting married and staying married remained neutral. Things began to turn in 1982 when marriage rates steadily dropped. Today, the desire to marry and have a family legacy is less than 40% and still dropping. At this rate, marital status will be a category removed on documents and applications. Why are we falling away from such tradition? Do we not want legacy anymore? Or is it a combination of the lack of love and trust? Well, what is love actually? Love is the basis for everything. It's the foundation to all creation and inventions. Your car, your home, your clothes, infrastructure, and the miraculous event of childbirth. Love is indeed patient. It's a gradual connection with another person. Love is powerful, immersive, and enduring. Love is not only expressed through sexuality, preferably done within marriage, but not everyone chooses to agree with that concept. In fact, the percent of sexual intercourse within a romantic relationship, which is not the most important, is less than 5% for both sexes. The remaining 95% is all about forming a foundation, cultivating intimacy and understanding. It reminds me of sapiosexuals, who are individuals that are sexually attracted to a person's intellect. Essentially, love is charitable, yet with a moderate approach. Lust is aggressive and impulsive to act on whatever urge is surfacing, whether it be to steal or harm, but it can also be an urge for sexual gratification at the expense of another. Simply put, lust is quick, pleasurable in the moment, and dissipates over time. Love is slow, considerate, and grows with time. The world is fully expressive in terms of sexuality and is quick-tempered to let you know about it. It's quite embarrassing that you can't voice your own opinions about someone's sexual orientation without being ridiculed for exercising your right to freedom of speech in this country. It amazes me how hypersensitive this generation has become. It's sad to say, but these circumstances will only grow worse. So then, what are we to do? Well, the best solution for such a problem is to avoid it. Not only avoiding it, but understanding that your perception of what is right could be the polar opposite of what others deem as wrong. This is part of being mature and humble, knowing that you can never always be right about a thing, nor should you want to be. Focus on becoming the best possible version of yourself. Then, once you have developed into a more valuable person and have increased your awareness about things, you can then move around in life with a level of sophistication. The objective is to be thoughtful, considerate of other people's views and beliefs. To do this, you must learn to be compassionate with others. Because even though your beliefs may be different, we all share the capability to love. I think the Carpenter from Galilee gave us the key to how to express this type of love, which if we do it successfully, life as we know it today would change instantly. He said, Love your neighbor as yourself, which is to say, express love to everyone and give respect to everyone, even if, by social standards, they don't deserve it. Have you ever seen a row of baby ducks following their mother in a pond? What about seeing the trees and flowers bloom during the spring? If you take the time to think about it, everything operates from the basis of love. All you have to do is look at nature itself and you can see it. It's just that we look over it as something not worth investigating, but the examples are right in front of us every day. If you place two toddlers together of different cultures and languages in a controlled room with baby toys, what you will observe is how well the two will get along despite not knowing how to articulate their language to each other or having awareness of cultural customs. You see, all things are formed through supernatural love that's within us. We are born with empathy, kindness, and generosity. Everything else in our development has been from the influence of our upbringing. I suppose that's why it's written, if you train up a child in a way, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. This stands true for any upbringing of a child, which explains why this generation is such a nuisance. In regards to this generation, the vast majority are in constant competition with each other. They have lost the ability to be humble. What we end up with is a bunch of lookalikes doing the same things and not being comfortable in their own skin. This culture of leggings and luxurious clothing and the lack of authenticity has grown to an enormous amount of pretenders. People who are pretenders tend to subscribe to buffoonery. They are the great deceivers of this age, and they can often be chameleons in order to abstract something from you. Lustful people are also the most delusional. They oftentimes have no discretion or self-control. It's like an adult who still behaves as an adolescent. Whenever you hear a statement and the word toxic is used, just know that this is nothing but a substitute for the word lust. A loving person cannot be a lustful person. The two cannot coexist. You are either kind-hearted and selfless, or you are envious and cunning. However, the choice is yours, whether it be deliberate or involuntary. God is love, and love is God. This is true based on the very first statement in the book of Genesis, telling us, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth." The implication is that he created these two places apart from himself, but rather he created them for other entities to dwell. God cannot be lustful or portray a false sense of love. He is the epitome of kindness and selflessness, to say the least. To have a friendship of any kind, you must be loving to some degree. Otherwise, the interactions will fade and be pointless. This is also true for all other forms of relationships, and we need them. We thrive off the interpersonal communication with our peers or coworkers. We can even develop the sense of well-being when we do so. No one on this planet has been born to dismiss the integral part of humanity, and that is to be relatable. There's two great quotes from the greatest book in the world to sum up everything about relationships. The first is, "He that has friends must show himself friendly." And the second, "A brother is born for adversity, but there's also a friend that loves at all times." It doesn't take much to say hello, or to follow up after the initial greeting for a possible conversation to unfold. This will be a normal thing to do, but with the saturation of social media and desirous hearts that have unrealistic expectations, it only stands to reason why normal has been perceived as creepy. As one of the most prolific teachers who ever lived mentioned, love is not easily provoked, nor does it think to do evil. Nowadays, a man approaching a woman is considered harassment, while a woman approaching a man is not seen as a threat, even though the possibility is still there. Now, there are circumstances of more aggressive cases that will involve criminal offenses or endangerment. But the sane and healthy individuals, the natural inclination to speak to a person whom you are physically attracted to has become like a psychological puzzle piece trying to strategize the right things to say. There is no need for this unnecessary conflict, but all you have to do is be genuinely interested enough just to say hello. Then let things happen organically. Understanding yourself is highly important, and most people do. But the failed development in understanding how you associate with others is the problem. This is why having love for all things is crucial to your livelihood. If you have love, you tend to not have a need to compare yourself to another person, whether rich, famous, or broke and homeless. As the scriptures say, love is not puffed up, and it doesn't behave unseemingly. In addition, if you risk something and lose it, or you experience heartbreak and emotional distress, having love will give you the courage to endure, because there is nothing that is uncommon to man. I think a good display of character is to be able to love your enemy. There was a king with great wisdom that surpassed all understanding, and he said, "If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink." That is a wonderful yet clear understanding of how one should be in the midst of opposition, ridicule, and dislikes. Other times it could be those who hate to see someone's success, and they begin to foster this anger within themselves and projecting it in evil manners. Sometimes it could be life-threatening attacks. Nonetheless, a great shame can be placed on someone who's constant in their goal to inflict harm or damages, but to no avail. What makes it worse is to witness your progression without being affected by their attempts to throw you off course. So, let it be. Never stoop down to someone's level, but accept them for who they truly are. Then you can deal with them accordingly. You will be adept to grow from such experiences. In turn, you become more wise and your self-development becomes advantageous. The duty is to provide substance to someone else as you reinvent yourself. Life cannot just be about personal growth, but giving back to the community or society in which you are a part of. Have you ever heard of leaving a place better than you found it? Well, that's the point. We need to start leaving better impressions, living better lives, and being better in our skills and relations. That's our duty, and we share this commonality as a whole. Let's leave Earth better than we found it, so to speak. That's the difference with envy and lust. They never grow for the better. They just continue the pursuit of causing strife, bitterness, and displaying the inability to have a mature disagreement. If you can't have a mature disagreement in life, when it comes to social groups, business, friends, or foe, things of that effect, you will impede on your own self-development. Therefore, when you have the awareness to what love truly is and what it isn't, the life you choose to embark upon will ultimately be displayed as a result. What I suggest is taking a moment to think how loving or lustful you may be. How well do you deal with uncomfortable circumstances? How often do you initiate greeting a person or just saying hello to your neighbor? Are you partaking in resolving issues with a heart of love, which comes from a humble space, or a heart of entitlement and immaturity? Claiming to have love for a person who can be visibly seen, yet not knowing God, is detrimental, because how then are you able to truly love anyone or thing if you do not love God, whom you do not see? Controversial as it may be, most people operate on feelings, sexual attractiveness, and enticed by their own lusts. Don't be so concerned with another person's affections towards you. Of course, having a healthy social life and opportunities to reflect in solitude are vital, but if you keep your heart from hatred and offense, then you will ultimately be seen as less combative, and easygoing. Honestly, you'll begin to receive more love from others than not. Don't be so occupied either with the lifestyles of others, but with love, consider that everyone must live according to their own devices, whether it be productive or destructive, endearing or destitute. This is free will. If you practice humility and get rid of comparisons, that lustful and envious spirit will decrease until you have no intentions of exhibiting the two. Sure, you will have daily challenges in order to put these things into practice, but understand that a war is not won in just a week, nor is an idea at first thought brought to fruition within a day. It all takes persistence and intentional decisions that will lead to accomplishing what is being pursued. To put it clear, a man named Saul of Tarsus, who later had an alteration in his name, he said, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." This is true for everything in life, and not solely about obtaining money, because if you ask a person what's more important between having health or having riches, the senses will reveal that having health is the greater choice. Have love for one another, and be more interested in the things of others than of yourself. It's perfectly fine to have a time to search for what you enjoy in your own personal life. However, this should not be for all of your life, because once you have figured out what suits you and what doesn't, then now it's about understanding what is joy for another and how you associate yourself with that particular enjoyment. This is why at home, it is crucial to the development of children to be taught social skills, social cues, manners, and discourse. All these things are the building blocks for a person to be a healthy contributor to society in whatever culture they live in. So, if you ever want to know why people think, behave, or socialize in the way that they do, then all you have to do is look at their households. If I can sum it all up, remember this. Love covers a multitude of sins, when lust does nothing but promotes embarrassment and shame. No one can build a constructive life based on lust, and it's a reason why the world has such a rate of growth in technology, architecture, aircrafts, and at the least, feasible roads to drive on. Though the world is full of chaos, the reason why mankind is still thriving is because of the insurmountable love that is within all of us. And thankfully, most of us still have it. We all are seeking the same things, which are connection and that fundamental love. But seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. The mystery is that whoever finds these two things has also lost themselves to find them. In order for us to become much more loving and get rid of deceptive practices and manipulation tactics, we must then decrease, but He must increase. Well, that's the definition of love. It is the resignation of oneself for the sake of another. In other words, love is a sacrificial action, and it entails lowering your own opinions about a thing in order for you to offer up the truth. The story goes that there was a man who breathed and walked in this world amongst naysayers, hearers, and doers. He never forced his opinions or ideas onto others, but with truth he spoke. Then one day he was given the ultimate task that we all can learn from, and that is to sacrifice himself for the indiscretions of humanity. After such sacrifice, he then was put in a tomb which lay for 3 days and 3 nights. Certainly there was a strong smell of odor from the body, but on the 3rd day a woman noticed that the tomb was open. Frantically, she spoke with the man who appeared to be a gardener, and she asked questions about the opening of the tomb and the body, because the body wasn't there. Well, it was that truth, that man who was ridiculed for spreading the greatest message to all who heard with love. Once the woman recognized who she was talking to, she cried tears of joy and comfort. But right after that, she ran as quickly as she could to the students that followed him, and time passed. They too were dismayed and confused, but they also never stopped believing. So then, that's the key to all happiness and joy. It is to love genuinely at all times, and walk in love despite how others may treat you or disrespect you. A father of a child would sacrifice himself for that child in the unfortunate event of a life and death situation. This is exactly what God has done for us with His Son, because He loved the world so much that He gave us an opportunity to have a second chance through His death. Although death is imminent for us all, God's love and believing in His Son's actions of love is the paid sacrifice so that we may not see death, but have eternal life on earth as it is in heaven.